You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.
From hobby farmers to weekend gardeners and everyone in between, Tractor Supply trusts 5G solutions from T-Mobile for Business to make shopping more personal. Together, we're connecting over 2,200 stores with 5G business internet and powering AI so team members can match shoppers with products faster.
You're all set.
This is enriching customer experience. This is Tractor Supply with T-Mobile for Business. Take your business further at T-Mobile.com/now.
Giants Extra Point is brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the Giants. Citizens is made ready for Giants fans. Hackensack Meridian Health keep getting better. Kendra Scott, game day and every day. Score a jewelry touchdown with Kendra Scott. Peerless Boilers, the world's best-built boilers. And by Moody's, decode risk, unlock opportunity. Learn more at moodys.com. Welcome to Giants Extra Point, everybody. I am John Schmeelk with Jonathan Casillas. Another disappointing loss of the New York Football Giants. With a whole lot of self-inflicted wounds, they fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers on Monday Night Football, 26-18. They fall to 2-6 on the season. Steelers improved to 6-2. And JC, there are so many different directions we can go here, but let's begin at the end, where the Giants did have a chance at the end of this game, and on 2 possessions late, Daniel Jones gets stripped by T.J. Watt. That's what T.J. Watt does. Beat Jermaine Illuminor with a speed rush, a little dip and rip, got around, knocked the ball out of Daniel Jones' hand. Then on the final drive, Giants get a couple chunk plays, a 27-yard seam throw, a great throw and catch to Theo Johnson, a 15-yard throw to Malik Neighbors on the right sideline out of bounds, and then I believe it was a second down play. Daniel Jones scrambles to his right, ran out of a clean pocket. I need to look at it again. You're 100% sure it was a clean pocket. And he tries to get it to Devin Singletary in the slot. Not an overly complicated pass. Airmails it right to Beanie Bishop for the interception. And that sealed the Steelers' 26-18 victory.
Yeah, the Giants had a lot of opportunities this game. You know, the Pittsburgh Steelers defense showed up at the end of the game. They made the plays to win. 2 turnovers. You know, the Giants pretty much played, you know, a clean game in terms of turnovers, not turning the ball over to the last 2 possessions.
Yep.
Not clean being all the penalties that they had on offense. If I'm not mistaken, 9 penalties on the offense, a lot on the offensive line. Highsmith and T.J. Watt had a day.
They finished 11 penalties for 65 yards, by the way.
Yeah, I think the last couple was on
the
the
last
defense.
2 were on the defense.
Yeah.
That's correct.
And again,
there was 12 men on the field and
defensively, they were pretty much holding up. You know, the punt return that was allowed. You know, so you talk about 19 points given up on defense.
True, but they also did give up 426 yards.
Yeah, 100%.
Steelers moved the ball.
100%. And, you know, but the plays that were made at the end of the game were all Pittsburgh. You know, the punt return, the strip sack, the interception, you know, and the Giants still had life. They still had a chance to get that ball down the field to potentially tie the game with the 2-point conversion.
Yeah, and they can never get into the end zone to even attempt that 2-point conversion. And, you know, JC, the Giants should have had more than 18 points. And I think that's the frustrating part of this for me. The Giants had 9 points at the half. They had a touchdown taken off the board because of an unfocused illegal shift penalty by Malik Neighbors on the play. They get into the red zone 2 other times. They had another 5-yard penalty, turning a 3rd and 7 into a 3rd and 12 inside the red zone. So they couldn't score a touchdown on that drive. They had to settle for the field goal. The Giants had 394 yards of offense against a very good Steelers defense. They moved the ball. But their inability to convert in the red zone, a lot of that because of penalties and self-inflicted wounds, and then the turnovers at the end of the game were simply too much. And then defensively, I don't want to take credit away from them. Steelers averaged 6.8 yards per play in this game.
Yeah.
It's a lot.
Yeah, it is.
That's a lot. We don't have the final box yet to count up the explosive plays, But I'll guarantee you, the Steelers had at least 5 plays of 20 more yards in this game.
Yeah, and I think they had double digits of over 10-plus plays, maybe 15, 16, 17, something like that, of over 10 yards. But we knew that going into this game that the Pittsburgh Steelers, whether you can hold them down a lot for the entirety of the game, they're a big play waiting to happen, and you saw that with George Pickens. You saw that with Austin on special teams as well. And going into the game, we didn't really talk about it, but the job that their special teams has done the last few weeks blocking kicks, and they actually got, the punt return touchdown.
You're a big fan of their coordinator, I know.
Yeah, I mean, look, he's a guy that get those guys playing for them, and when your offense is not really doing too much, and defense is doing what they can do, limiting the Giants, the field goals. All of a sudden, a big play happens on special teams. They get the momentum. They go up by multiple scores, and that's how the game kind of got away from the Giants, and then the Giants ended up having to be in that 2-minute mode for basically their last few possessions, and they just never really looked comfortable doing that. The offensive line never really looked, like they could actually hold up against Highsmith and TJ Watt for 4 quarters, and you saw them kind of dominate later on in the game, and it was good to see the Giants go blow for blow with the Steelers team that's sitting at the top of their division right now. But at the end of the day, the Giants failed to execute when it came down to making plays at the end of the game.
Yeah, Danny Smith, their special teams coordinator, one of the better special teams coordinator in the league, does a really nice job. And look, and by the way, we even talk about the drops in this game. Malik Neighbors on a 3rd and 7 drops the ball. And by the way, if he catches that ball, the Giants might score a touchdown on that drive instead of a field goal, and then they only need a field goal instead of they only need they might not have to score a touchdown or a field goal depending on how that goes, right? So just a really disappointing way to finish it. And Neighbors had the drop on a deep ball down the right sideline. Now, Tyron Tracy bailed him out. He ended up scoring a touchdown on that drive anyway. But again, defensive mistakes, penalties, turnovers by the quarterbacks, just go down the list. And you can't have these type of mistakes. And a lot of these penalties were procedural too, JC.
Yep.
Like, you cannot have those types of mistakes on the road against a team like the Steelers, who generally don't beat themselves. And the Steelers tried to help the Giants out.
Yeah.
Russell Wilson had that fumble late on the scramble. Great punch out and fumble recovery by Bobby Okereke. But the Giants, again, couldn't convert that into a touchdown. They had to settle for 3 there. And that was all she wrote. That was tonight's game breakdown, brought to you by our local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com, Ford official truck of the Giants. Quick time out. When we return, we'll hear from Brian Dable and his comments after this game right after this.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
Back here on Giants Extra Point, the New York Giants fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers 26-18. John Schmeelk, Jonathan Casillas with you. We are waiting Brian Dable at his press conference, brought to you by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Well, we got that big play report, JC, and I hit it on the head. 5 plays of 20 yards or more for the Pittsburgh Steelers, and all 5 of those plays were for 26 yards or more. You had Najee Harris with a 26-yard run, the deep pass to Calvin Austin by Russell Wilson for the touchdown. He beat Drew Phillips on that play. Really nice throw by Russell Wilson. And Wilson made some nice deep throws in this game, but that's what he's good at. We knew that. And he made some nice throws. You had the deep pass to Darnell Washington for 29 yards, and then George Pickens had the 43-yard catch, and Van Jefferson, 1 for 36 yards. But the Giants kept pace all right in this game. They had 5 plays of their own of 25 yards or more. You don't know why they're in the game? That's why. The 45-yard Tyrone Tracy run. Slayton had a 43-yard catch in the first half and a 36-yard catch in the first half. Tracy had a 26-yard run. Then Theo Johnson had the 25-yard seam route. Throwing an 18-yard catch for Slayton, another 17-yard Tracy run. The Giants had 8 plays of 15 yards or more, of more than 15 yards. 10 plays of 15 yards or more. I mean, they made enough plays on offense. They just couldn't finish in the red zone. They killed themselves with penalties, and they had the 2 turnovers at the end of the game, and then their defense just gave up too many yards. It's another game that they were in, JC. Look, they've had a couple stinkers this year. Game 1 against the Vikings was a stinker. The game last week against the Eagles was a stinker. Every other game this year, it's a 1-possession game late, whether it was the loss of the Bengals, a loss of the Commanders, loss to the Cowboys, and this loss now to the Steelers. And they just have not been able to win these close games. And, last year, we know how much the team struggled with all the injuries. You go back to 2 years when they made the playoffs and they won all those one-score close games. this has been the diametric opposite of that year. They just have not been able to win a lot of these close games.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what you're seeing. The NFL is a competitive league. Most games are going to come down to, that last possession, those last few possessions, and the Giants have been, like you said, have been in several games, despite the first game and the Eagles game last week. But the Giants still haven't figured out a way to, when it comes down to it, make those plays at the end of the game, make those crucial plays at crucial times during the game, fourth down, red zone, big time catches. They figured out a way to lose some of these games, and, the Giants have to figure out a way to get over that hump. Every single game that the Giants are going to play in, if they're competitive, they're going to be in it towards the end of the game. They have to figure out how can they make the plays both offensively and defensively. You saw it a few weeks ago at the Browns where the Giants, they was going back and forth, and then the Browns had, a little momentum late, and then they did it on special teams. So the Giants have to figure out a way to go down, whether it's at home, scoring touchdowns, which the Giants haven't done, or on the road, hostile environment, play better, like mistake-free football. A lot of illegal shift, illegal motions, which I don't think we've seen this year at all. That came out of nowhere, and it was an abundance of those the entire game.
And that's just discipline because, if you go into motion before your offense is set, you have to set before the ball is snapped. I know some fans are confused. They're like, well, people do that jet motion all the time, and they're on the move when the snap is
You have to
snapped.
get set first.
That's exactly right.
Yep.
If you're set, the offensive linemen get in position, the quarterback's under center, then you go in your jet sweep motion. You do not have to set.
Right.
But if you're moving, before the quarterback's under center and getting into his cadence, you have to set again before the snap is made. And twice, the Giants didn't do that. Darius Slayton's rocking back and forth in his stance, and then Neighbors was just meandering across the formation, and he didn't get set. You can't have these things.
Scratching my head on a lot of plays like that, but then also the two-point conversion. I don't know why go for it, but then also what play was that they were trying to run?
Well, I mean, I can explain the analytics to you on that. We can do that later in the post-game show. It does make sense from a mathematical perspective, but then clearly guys aren't on the same page. Is it? I don't know if the linemen out there don't know the snap count or they snapped it too early.
You see Daniel Jones visibly upset.
Oh, he was he was.
Sometimes
mad.
you could be upset and you're wrong. You could be wrong. I just don't know what they were trying to do with that play.
I saw Brian Dable. For once, Dable was trying to calm down Daniel Jones coming off to the sideline.
Yeah, but my thing is, we've never seen that from the Giants before.
No.
New wrinkles, okay, cool, but run it. Run the play.
Well,
What
right.
play were you trying to run?
I mean, Brian Dable, and Bob Hoppe mentioned this a couple of times in the broadcast, he was in his bag in the first half. He's setting up plays for Chris Manhertz to score touchdowns. They had Neighbors. He just couldn't get his feet in on the left side in the end zone. So just a lot of frustrating moments in this game. Brian Dable's at the podium. Let's listen in.
Tough one. Tough one on the road. Yeah, what they normally do, ran the ball, hit some boots, and hit a couple of shots down the field. They did a nice job. Just thought, during that series, needed a little bit more. Had a conversation with them, and went with the other guys.
Was it, did you have any issue with the low tackle attempt when he was hurt?
No, that was a tough play. Najee does that. There's a couple of other little things there that we got to tighten up detail-wise, and I know he will.
Did you mention based on the play on the field or the conversation here on the sideline? You said you spoke to him on the sideline. Is that to inform him you're benching, or that's?
Yeah, we talked to him on the sideline that we were going to go with Stroman.
What was Dexter yelling about after that drive when he was yelling at the
Just look. There's a lot of competitors on the team, and just hammer on the details.
How disappointed with everything coming into this game, Deontay, that he didn't see enough to keep him in?
Yeah. Again, he'll bounce back. He'll bounce back. We just, the way the series went, we decided to go in a different direction.
You mentioned bounce back. Is he going to be your starter next week?
Yeah, I'm not gonna make any declarations right now, but yeah, I would say so. But again, we got to go back. We got to watch the tape. We'll evaluate it again. like we normally do. So.
Was there effort issues on that drive, or was it performance? Because there were some things going in that it was effort. So just to be clear.
Yeah, I'm just going to look. We made a decision to go with another player, and we'll see where we're at.
You seem to do a pretty good job with Watt in the front seven there, and it kind of broke down late. What happened there?
When?
Just, I mean, in the second half. I mean,
Well, he's a heck of a player. They moved him to the left side. Sometimes we had some shifts, and we're trying to do things to get the tight end to the appropriate side. Our guys battled. He's going to make some plays. So.
With the good things that you did do, what's the message to the guys in the game? You get the ball with a chance to tie it.
Yeah, no excuses. I thought there was, a lot of different things that we did well, but not enough. So, they made some good plays. We gave ourselves a chance at the end. They made a nice play on the ball. And, I was proud of the way they competed for 60 minutes. We knew this is a tough place to play. There was a lot of good things, just not enough of them.
What happened on the 2-point conversion? It seemed like the timing was messed up.
Yeah, Motor was – so we've been working on that for a while. Motor was actually checking with the official to make sure that he was on the line of scrimmage, and Daniel saw the look that we needed to get to, where we were just going to throw the ball out there to Malik. We had a bunch of blockers, but he was talking to the official when Daniel snapped it and threw it out there, and they only had two guys out there, and the guy blew by him.
What did you see with him, though? It seemed like nobody.
Yeah, he snapped. I mean, because he snapped it quick. He saw the look. They were getting set. We weren't set, and the one guy that was out there was two guys out there. There was a bunch of guys inside. Saw the ball being snapped and beat us to the punch.
What did you see on the punt return there, and how damaging was that?
Well, anytime you give up a return for a touchdown, it is. I'd say we kind of outkicked our coverage, and then, with that becomes lane discipline. They had a couple nice blocks where he got to the edge. But that's, those two things, when you outkick it and the lane discipline isn't where it needs to be.
Did you ask for clarification on why no roughing on that play?
Yeah. No, I mean, they got a tough job to do.
When you saw the flag, though, do you think if nothing else, it was potentially a running into situation when the flag was down?
You never know. You never know. It's quite a bit of them tonight.
What do you see of Daniel just in the last two drives? You have the one, just with the chance to tie, the one ends in the fumble, the second ends up in the interception, just in the last 5 minutes.
Yeah, you want to maintain possession of the ball.
Why didn't you chip Watt on the strip sack?
Yeah, he was supposed to be chipped.
Why wasn't it?
DJ was looking at the coverage, communication, but Jermaine was anticipating a chip.
With early on when you hit the touchdown to Manhurst and Neighbors got called for the illegal shift, did you have an issue with them being hot on the sideline? Did you have an issue with the penalty, or how did that play out in your mind? Did you think that should have been a touchdown?
Yeah, no. I mean, again, we got to make sure we can control what we control, make sure we're lined up properly so that there's touchdowns not taken off the board.
Brian, are you saying on the chip play, are you saying Daniel didn't make the right check, or are you saying he didn't get
It wasn't a check. He was going, pressure situation was a clock. We had a shift with the tight end to get back over to Watt, and we didn't get the shift. So we talked about it in the locker room. That's DJ feels terrible, to be honest with you. And I know he's going to own it. He came up here to say he owned it. There was a shift that was accompanying the play. He was kind of surveying the coverage, deciding what he wanted to do, and we didn't get the shift. And they were lining up with him in different, sometimes they were lining up with him left a little bit more than they have. So we were making sure that if we put a chipper there, that he didn't line up opposite. So we were shifting to try to get the help where we needed to get the help.
What did you think of? I haven't seen, me personally, Daniel that fired up.
Yeah, I loved it.
About things.
Yeah, loved it. Yeah, I loved seeing his competitiveness. he cares. He works his butt off. And there's no one in this locker room that takes it harder than him. Just sitting down and talking. And he played hard. I thought he did a lot of good things. And unfortunately, we just at the end of the game there, we had a couple turnovers. But I thought he played extremely hard, competitive, fiery, and that's what you want from your quarterback.
Just watching it on replay on TV, you couldn't tell, but it looked like it was almost directed at you or at the sideline. Daniels firing.
No, it was just let's get our butts set. So when we're set for the 2-point play, let's get out there and let's get set. So when we snap the ball, we got them blocked. And I appreciate that. I like that about it. It's good for him to do that.
Take us through your decision to start Chris Hubbard instead of Zudu today.
Yeah, I just thought it was. Thought he had a good week. Veteran, started over almost 60 games. Had confidence in him. So, talked to Zudu Friday or Saturday morning. Said we're going to go with Chris. See how it goes. So we went with him.
You had a plan all spring and summer that Zudu was going to play, be your backup tackle. He's going to be your backup left tackle.
Yeah. I mean, when you add veterans that have played a lot in this type of environment, we thought it was best for our team.
Take two more.
What do you mean? What accounts for it? We weren't lined up, or they called us, shifting or not being set before we moved. Is that what you're asking?
Yeah, a lot of them. I was just asking why.
Oh, yeah, we weren't set, and we were moving on motion, so, those hurt.
Do you have any update on Tracy when he went out?
I don't have an update, but, once again, guy played his tail off, So developing the right way, competitive, tough. He's a good football player for us.
What did you make of being 2-6 for the second straight game?
It's not fun. Yeah. We work as hard as we can work each week. I believe we do things right. And unfortunately, the results aren't what we want them to be. So we got to have mental toughness. But it's, you like to get better results.
Okay. All right, Daniel, when he's ready, lock room go.
That's Brian Daboll post-game as the Giants again fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers in this game, 26-18. Brian Daboll's press conference was brought to you by Hackensack Meridian Health. Keep getting better. Let's pause 10 seconds to give our stations across our network a chance to identify themselves on the WFAN Giants Radio Network.
This is WBBR New York. Start your day with us weekday mornings at 5 for all the news you need from around the world. Bloomberg 1130, New York's home for news and business.
Let's take a quick time out here on the Giants Radio Network. Giants again fall to the Steelers 26-18. Jonathan Casillas and I will react to everything Brian Daboll said at the press conference when we return.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
All right, we're back. Daniel Jones is at the podium. Let's listen in.
You have to wait to snap the ball. Did they have to check earlier? How do you do that?
We just didn't execute it right. Got to be sharp in those situations, and my job to get everybody on the same page and get everybody going. So got to execute that.
And you went out on the strip sack there with Watt and not getting somebody over.
Yeah, I needed to shift. Theo. Was looking at the coverage. I didn't shift him. Jermaine's expecting a chip, so he didn't get that, and so that's my fault.
You guys did do a lot of good things tonight. How difficult is it when you're that close and get the ball, the chance to tie it late, and you're just coming up short?
Yeah, it's frustrating for sure. Very frustrating. We hurt ourselves a lot tonight, and that's the most frustrating part about it. So we've got to be more detailed, starting with me, and some of the good stuff that happened, was negated by those mistakes.
You seem to have a little more edge to you than usual. How much of that, if any, has to do with what happened last week? Going on to prove yourself?
I think I always play with an edge. I always play play with that. I don't always show it the same, but I think I've always played that way. And maybe I showed it a little bit differently tonight, but that doesn't change in my approach and how I play. So, I'm just frustrated with, coming up short again. So nobody really cares that we're frustrated. It's, what are we going to do from here and how are we going to fix the issues? So certainly look at myself first, see where I can do that.
What happened on the possession?
Just threw the ball high.
How much different is just kind of this feeling where you're so close, you have a chance to win it, you have a couple chances to win it or tie it in the fourth, compared to something like last week where it was a little more lopsided game, just that frustration?
They're all frustrating. It doesn't matter how you lose, they're all frustrating. So, I'd say that.
Daniel, what does it take for guys to get details right? So, like when you guys score a touchdown, it doesn't get called back because someone's lined up. We can talk about it, but how do you fix those things? How do guys fix those things?
Starts with me. It starts with me, and I've got to make sure everyone's on the same page, ready to go. Obviously, it's about how you prepare through the week, walkthroughs, practice, attention to detail, and all that stuff. And like I said, it starts with me. So frustrating. We hurt ourselves a lot tonight.
What did you think of Tyrone Tracy? It's the second time in 4 games he topped 100 yards.
Played well.
What did he do for your offense?
Yeah, he played well. Played big time for us. The guys up front did a good job in the run game, opened up some holes for him, and he did a good job.
Daniel, what did you see on the play that you scored the touchdown with Manhurts in the first half? Did you guys the shift right away, or do you realize once he gets in and you see the flag and that's what happened?
Yeah, I didn't realize it was a flag, obviously, until he had scored. But yeah, we just got to be detailed, starting with me. Can't afford those mistakes.
What did the official say to you? I think you went up to him at one point. It looked like you were stating your case, and he was telling you that I think someone, a different guy, it looked like, something like that.
Yeah, he said he wasn't set. We weren't set, so that was it.
Anything else?
Thanks.
That's Daniel Jones. Our player press conferences are brought to you by MetLife, the official insurance company of the New York Giants. Affiliates, this is going to be another network break. Do not take your local break here. One more quick network break. We'll come back and react to Brian Dable and Daniel Jones right after this.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
Back here on Giants Extra Point, Giants fall to the Steelers 26-18. Giants football is brought to you by your local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Ford, official truck of the Giants. All right, JC, a lot to react to what Brian Dable and Daniel Jones had to say there. So let's start with the big strip sack on the Giants' next to last possession. Watt was supposed to be chipped on that. Daniel Jones, according to both him and Coach Dable, was trying to get the coverage set. He did not shift Theo Johnson over to that side where you were supposed to get a chip on TJ Watt there. So Illuminor, knowing he's going to get the chip, was trying to obviously play him inside out, knowing he'd have a chip on the outside. The chip wasn't there. TJ Watt ends up beating him with the speed rush outside with the dip and rip move. That turns into the strip sack on the fumble.
Yeah, and it's like the same old thing. It's the answers. Well, as we listen, it's not always about the play that's called. It's about the execution of the play.
And little mistakes can have big results.
And literally, like, after most losses, that's what they're saying. We just have to execute better. I have to execute, this play better, and it's like, at what point it's like, it doesn't matter. And playing defense in the NFL for 9 years, they always said, if it's a bad call or it's a good call, as long as everybody's on the same page, that's a call that everybody can, fully do together, so it could be the right call. But if people are on different pages and not executing, then no matter what the call is, whether it's good or bad, it's a bad call. So it's all about execution. It's all about figuring out what the play entails, and it may not be a great call against what you're seeing, but if you execute it efficiently and correctly, then it probably end up being a good call. And that's what the Giants are failing to do. And that's what we're hearing every single loss is they're failing to execute, and it's happening in crucial and critical times of the game.
Another play on the attempted 2-point conversion, Brian Dable said that Daniel Jones wanted to get the snap off quickly because he saw the Steelers in the look that would have made the play successful. They had, I think it was 4 blockers out there on the left side, only 2 defenders.
Yeah.
And he wanted to go fast, which is the right thing to do to get the play out before the Steelers get more guys out there. But the rest of the team was not ready to go that quickly. So when the ball is snapped, the blockers are looking back inside. Devin Singletary, I think they said, was trying to check with the official to make sure he was on the line of scrimmage because when you have that type of weird formation, guys are in different spots. So maybe they're not positive exactly how they're supposed to line up on that. So that was another play where the guy's not on the same page.
Yeah, failure to execute, and we're sitting there scratching our heads of, why did they go for it? But if they would have executed, it would have been, a genius call, from, the New York Giants in catching the Steelers off guard, but it ended up, costing the Giants. Highsmith, first of all, Highsmith had a heck of a game, whether he was, actually getting a sack or he had 6 quarterback hits. He flushed Daniel Jones one time on an amazing spin move that he made on Chris Hubbard and ended up getting T.J. Watt the sack. You got to tip your hats to what they did, and then at the end of the game, they made the plays to win the game at the end of the game, and that's something that the Giants haven't done in these close games. The Giants haven't made the plays at the end of the game to win these games.
On the big punt return, Brian Dable talked about how the punter outkicked his coverage a little bit. I believe that was a 53-yard punt on that play.
Probably not enough airtime, though.
And he said had bad lane discipline on the play. And as a special teams guy, you can appreciate how important that is in punt coverage.
And it's synced up with the amount of airtime that you have. If it's a 53-yard punt, but it's a lot, shorter, it lands a lot quicker, then the coverage team doesn't have time to get down there and distribute, appropriate lanes going down the field. And, I would have to look at it again to see exactly if that was the point that they were trying to make. But, honestly, when I was looking, and me and Imani Tuma was talking about it, I was just watching it, they looked a little slow in the coverage, and I don't know if that's the bodies that were out there or that Austin was running a lot faster than everybody else. He is a fast guy.
No question about it. And then the other big thing Brian Dable was questioned on, and the interception at the end, Daniel Jones said, I just threw it too high. Yeah. Obviously. And that was and we'll get to Deonte Bank things in a second. That was Daniel usually come out, he'll be solemn, I think is a good word to use to describe how he usually is after some of these losses, and you could tell he's unhappy and, it's impacted him and he's disappointed they lost. There was a real palpable frustration to him taking an edge. Like it was like kind of like I'm sick of this and I'm not going to take it anymore type of vibe. And like all good leaders do, when things go wrong, he took a lot of it on his shoulders. And look, a lot of the stuff was his fault at the end of this game, at least. But you could tell that there was an edge to him a little bit in that press conference that you usually don't hear.
You know what I think it was too? The game was basically on his shoulders at the end of the game. And he made several throws during that drive, which were great throws that he made.
That seam to Theo Johnson was fantastic.
Oh, it was an amazing pass. One of the best passes I've seen Daniel Jones ever throw. Great catch by Theo Johnson as well. And then another great throw to him to get out of bounds. And you seem like, look, the Giants have, life. It's an 8-point game, a 1-possession game. The Giants are moving the football down the field. And, we're watching it with the staff of the post-game show. And I'm sitting there looking like, hey, those guys are off the field. Highsmith and Watt, and they've been having success against the Giants offensive line. And I literally called it out on the interception play. I said, man, that's a clean pocket. And then Daniel Jones, he didn't have his feet set on that throw, and he airmailed it over.
Yeah, he was rolling to his right.
And he's been throwing the ball well. And I think what you're hearing from him is, I think, disappointment, not just in the loss, but in himself. I've been there before.
He was mad at himself.
I've been there before.
Yeah, he was mad at himself.
It's fourth down or something like that, and the other team is driving the ball down the field, and I was, didn't make the play on fourth down or didn't make the play, and that's what really sticks with you, because it's the last time that you're on the field, and you feel like you let your team down, and that's what I think you're hearing from Daniel Jones.
And then the final topic that Brian Dable got grilled on was the decision to bench, for lack of a better term, or to take Deonte Banks out of the game. in this contest. It was, I believe, the next to last possession in the second quarter. There was no comments about effort issues, but just, I believe he said we wanted a little bit more, and we saw some missed tackles over the course of that first half. Now, one play, Najee Harris makes a really nice hurdle over him. I'm not going to kill him on that, but there were some tackle attempts where he had good efforts to make the tackle, but he just failed to make them, and they ended up going to Stroman, who was elevated from the practice squad, and later on in the game, he gave up a deep pass down the sideline.
Yeah, when Stroman came in, I felt like he played pretty well, for considering that he was just on practice squad not too long ago.
Yeah, just the one play that he gave up.
He just got signed, a couple of weeks ago to the practice squad, and when we talked about Banks pregame as well, in terms of how they were going to handle, what happened last week on, the question of his effort against that Jalen Hurts scramble, and I don't think I saw any effort plays, but maybe he was a little bit nonchalant in terms of being in the right position to make those tackles a little bit easier for him, being a little bit away from Pickens on the play instead of a couple yards closer, which will make a tackle. First of all, it's very difficult to tackle one-on-one in the NFL. These guys are so talented.
Especially when you got a 230-pound Mack truck that runs pretty fast coming at you,
Pickens in the open space, it's very difficult to get down.
Yeah, that was the other one. It was Pickens, he missed the tackle.
Yeah,
correct.
And Harris, he's a big, strong, athletic running back that you have to tackle him low because he outweighs you by 40, 50 pounds, and then all of a sudden he hurdles over you. And it's almost demoralizing when you shoot your shot and you're trying to give it your all and you don't hit nothing. And then again the Pickens play where Pickens broke 2 tackles on that play. But I think, and we've seen this from Banks in the past, I think sometimes he gives a little bit too much cushion on certain situations, especially third down. 3rd and 3, he's playing like 8 yards.
Yeah, there was a 3rd and 4 where he was about 10 yards off, and they just do that little quick out for the first down. Even Howard Cross said it from the sideline, like he didn't understand why he wasn't a little bit closer on that play.
And we've spoke about that play in the past, not just this year, but also last year.
Just play-to-play focus. Like, you see the talent on individual plays. Like, there were plays last week where he wouldn't let A.J. Brown get off the line.
Right.
But there are some plays where you're just sitting there and you're like, ugh.
Yeah.
I'm not sure what you're doing on that particular play.
And I think that's what it was. I don't think it was a lack of effort. Maybe it's just a lack of concentration and a lack of focus.
Yeah.
But you have to have that, man. The NFL, these guys are too good, man. That's why I love the NFL so much, man. It's so much talent. These guys deserve to be at this level. And if you take one play off of just not paying attention, not focus, look at the other night. The guy from the guy from the Bears, celebrating, or talking to the crowd, before the play, and then running over to the Hail Mary play from the Commanders, and he was the one that tipped the ball to Noah Brown that caught and he was actually supposed to be behind the play.
Guarding Noah Brown,
and
that's
it's like
correct.
The game is not over, bro. You have to pay attention. You have to lock in for 4 quarters, sometimes 5 quarters. That's just what it takes.
Like I said before, JC, a little mistake, mental or physical, could have a big impact on the game.
Yep.
And every play counts in these close games in the NFL. It's 1 or 2 plays. What was Bill Parcells say? There's like 3 to 4 plays in every game that makes the difference between a win or a loss. And if you're on the wrong side of those plays, guess what? You're going to lose.
And it only have to be one some games.
Sometimes
some games it's only one.
It's only got to be one.
Mm-hmm.
All right, quick timeout, affiliates. Here's your first local break. Let's take it. The Steelers defeat the Giants 26-18 on Giants Extra Point. We'll have more from the locker room and analysis as we continue here on our postgame.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
This is O.C. Manure, and you listen to Giants football on the Giants Radio Network.
2nd and 10 at the Steeler 45. Giants are going to run a draw up the middle and dashing down the left sideline to the 10, to the 5, to the goal line. It's a touchdown. What a play. The Giants ran a draw, and Tracy runs it in from 45 yards out, and the Giants are back in the game.
That was tonight's scoring drive of the game, brought to you by Citizens. For every scoring drive this season, Citizens will donate $750 to the Giants Foundation to support their work tackling important community issues, improving overall health, and empowering our youth. I chose that as the scoring drive of the game because it was the only Giants touchdown drive of the game, a 5-play, 65-yard drive. It was also their longest drive, capped by that 45-yard Tyrone Tracy touchdown. and that brought the Giants to within, I believe, one score a little bit late in this game. That helped turn things, but they could not close the gap all the way and end up losing to the Steelers 26-18. Yeah, that Tracy touchdown made it 23-15. The Giants then failed in that 2-point conversion, so they didn't make it a one-score game. Steelers would get one more field goal. Giants would get one more field goal, but they obviously could not score in that final drive when Daniel Jones overshot Devin Singletary, picked off by Beanie Bishop, and that was all she wrote for the Giants. But we have not talked about one of the big positives in this game, JC, and that has to be Tyrone Tracy, who ran the heck out of the football. 20 carries, 145 yards, including that 45-yard run. And in this game, he had that 45-yard run, he had another run of 26 yards, and he had another run of 17 yards. So those 3 runs alone, that is 88 yards of rushing for Tyrone Tracy, who ran hard, broke tackles, and unfortunately had to leave the game late with a head injury.
Yeah, let's hope he comes back. He definitely provides a burst, from the running game. And, you can see his elite athleticism, how he run the ball. He runs hard. He runs physical. He has a good knack of timing and setting up his blocks, getting on the outside. And he has some great speed to when he does break to the second level that he can take it, hopefully he can come back, man, because he was definitely a bright spot today. He was the guy that, later in the game, he got stronger as the game went on, and listen, as a defender, a guy that, gets stronger as the game goes on. And a couple people that come to mind, one person is Derrick Henry. He's a guy that you might be able to bottle him up early, but then all of a sudden you keep feeding him the ball, and he'll break one. Tracy kind of reminds me of him. Last week not getting a lot of carries, the week before not getting a lot of carries. The week prior to that against Seattle, up in Seattle, he was a guy that, was the pulse and the heartbeat for the Giants. When you want to be a physical team, you want to establish a run, you have to be able to run the football. Tracy has been that life for the Giants this year, and I truly hope he's not missing time with this head injury or whatever the injury is that he has.
Yeah, and I think both of us thought, JC, that this would be more of a timeshare when Devin Singletary came back healthy. It wasn't that tonight. Now, maybe this was Brian Daboll riding the hot hand, and it's not going to be like that every week. But Tyrone Tracy had 20 carries for 145 yards. He also caught 2 passes for 5 yards. And Devin Singletary just had 2 carries for 11 yards in this game, and he had 2 catches for 12 yards. We don't have the official snap counts yet. They'll be out tomorrow morning. But Tracy certainly dominated the snaps at the running back position, and frankly, he earned them with his explosive plays.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's tough, to be drafted where he was drafted, come into a situation where there's already a starter, basically, in Devin Singletary, and then come in and take advantage of the minimal amount of plays that you get, which he only had, very sparingly. He basically was behind Gray as well. He was basically the third-string running back coming in this year, but he stayed after it and took advantage of every single opportunity he had. And he's also good in pass pro as well, and that's something that we talked about a few weeks ago about his development as a young player in the pass pro.
Tonight's statistics are brought to you by the Archdiocese of New York. Learn more at cardinalsappeal.org. The Steelers outgained the Giants in this game 426-394. And, JC, I'll be honest with you, Hank, if you told either one of us that's how many yards both these teams would have in this game, I don't think either of us would have believed the other one.
Right.
I figured both teams would be in the low 300s, and that'd be the type of game it was going to be. But both teams moved the football. The Steelers averaged 6.8 yards per play. Giants at 5.9. Good numbers for both teams. Steelers rushed it for 167 yards. Giants for 157. 259 passing yards for the Steelers, 237 for the Giants. Steelers 6 of 13 on third downs. Giants 5 of 15. The Giants did convert their lone fourth down of the game. The penalties, 5 for 50 yards for the Steelers, 11 penalties for 65 yards for the New York Giants. Giants 0 of 3 in the red zone. Steelers 0 of 4 in the red zone. Giants did make all 4 of their field goals. They won the time of possession battle only by about a minute and a half in this game. That was pretty close. Individually for the Giants, Daniel Jones, you look at the numbers, spare that one interception, 24-38 for 264 yards. He had the yards. They moved the ball up and down the field. But again, no touchdowns. He did throw one to Chris Manhertz. That got taken off the board by that illegal shift penalty. That certainly hurt. And then, of course, you had the neighbor's deep pass that he dropped down the sideline as well. They did end up scoring on that drive. Tyrone Tracy had the long run, but that was another touchdown that they could have closed in on at least if Neighbors would have been able to hold on to that ball. I mentioned Tracy, 20 carries, 145 yards, and a touchdown, over 7 yards per rep. Wando Robinson, 5 catches, 30 yards. Darius Slayton, 4 catches, 108 yards. Theo Johnson, 3 catches, 35 yards. Matt Hawk, just 4 punts, 192 yards. Again, he had that long one that ended up getting returned for a touchdown by Calvin Austin, which was a very big play. That made it, that gave the Steelers a 1-score lead and really kind of turned the game. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on as well. Steelers punted the ball just 3 times in this game. For the Steelers, Russell Wilson, 20 for 28, 278 yards, 1 touchdown, no picks. Najee Harris ran the ball really well himself, 19 rushes, 114 yards. He averaged 6 yards per carry. George Pickens, 4 catches, 74 yards. Calvin Austin, 3 catches, 54 yards, including that 29-yard touchdown. 4 catches, 62 yards for Van Jefferson. 3 catches for Najee Harris out of the backfield. A pair of catches for Pat Freiermuth and Jalen Warren. And Darnell Washington, 1 catch for 29 yards. And Pruitt had a catch for 10 yards. Eric Gray, I did not mention him, by the way, had 1 catch for 3 yards for the New York Giants. Defensively, both these teams got after the quarterback. They were 2 of the better pass rushing teams in terms of individual pass rushers heading into this game, and they held to form. Giants had 4 sacks in this game, 2 for Azeez Ojulari, 1 for Brian Burns. Bobby Okereke and Micah McFadden split a sack. Giants had 4 other quarterback hits in the game for 8 total, 5 tackles for loss. Steelers had 4 sacks of their own, 2 for TJ Watt, 2 for Alex Highsmith, and they had 8 other quarterback hits in this game, 12 quarterback hits in total for the Pittsburgh Steelers. Both teams had 1 forced fumble and 1 fumble recovery. The Giants did have that interception, so they were -1 in the turnover ratio in this game, and we know that's a stat that oftentimes determines the winner or losers in a 1-score game. That turnover can be the difference between a win and a loss. All right, that's our look at the stats. I'm going to take a quick timeout. We'll come back. We'll hear from Malik Neighbors from the locker room and a whole lot more when we return. The Giants fall to the Steelers 26-18.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
This is Dave Deal, and you're listening to Giants Football on the Giants Radio Network.
Steelers show a blitz, play fake, Jones back, deep ball down the middle of the field, and it's complete down to the 15-yard line. He ran a deep post, and he hit Darius Slayton. First down, Giants, a gain of 44.
That's tonight's play of the game, brought to you by our local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com. Ford, official truck of the Giants. That was the Giants' second longest play from scrimmage in this game. It was their longest pass play. The Giants did make a lot of explosive plays in this game. That one to Darius Slayton that eventually set up a field goal on the Giants' opening drive. That was the Giants' 4th play from scrimmage in this game, a 43-yard completion to Darius Slayton. And Daniel, we talked about Daniel Jones being unable to hit the deep balls for a lot of the games this year, JC. This game, he was on the money with almost all of his deep balls. He tried that little back shoulder to Slayton. That was a little inaccurate, but he was hitting guys on the money left and right down the field in this game.
Yeah, and that pass to Theo Johnson late in the game up the seam, that was an incredible pass in traffic and cover 2. He put it up, but on his back shoulder, Theo Johnson had to go up and make an athletic play. I'm impressed by that kid, too. He's been doing some great things this year, his rookie year. And I talked to Kafka. I don't think I ever told you this. I seen him at the airport going into the season, and he told me about him. He said he's going to need about a year. That's what he said.
Oh, Penn State doesn't throw the football, man.
He's in there now. He's in the fire, and he looks pretty good, man.
Absolutely. We're not going to have Paul Dottino tonight. He just texted me. They're trying to obviously get out of Pittsburgh as quickly as they can. It's late. You want to get the guys home. You want to get to sleep. It's a bad loss. So we're not going to have Paul tonight, but he did yeoman's work in the locker room as always after the game. Let's go to one of those great interviews Paul was a part of and listen in to Malik Neighbors talking to the media after the game.
Emotion again. I think we had like 12 seconds left on the clock, so I tried to get set as fast as possible and then, motion. But I guess the quarterback said I was moving forward. I mean, we looked at the play, had a different say on it, but, wrestling.
The 2-point conversion looked rather odd from upstairs in the box in terms of the formation, but clearly one of the Steelers saw what he saw because it looked like he was shot out of a cannon. May have even been early. I don't know. But what did you see on that?
I mean, run the play in practice. If they don't have enough, guys line up across from our lineman. You know, we try to get me the ball as fast as possible, try to get me an end zone. But, you know, just a mixed cue that, you know, all the linemen didn't see the ball snap. So just to play another miscue, you know, that we got to have.
Malik, were you surprised in that spot that the ball was snapped? Because Dave said it was kind of a timing thing that Motor was looking and didn't expect the ball to be snapped.
No, I wasn't surprised that it wasn't snapped. I mean, they had 4 guys lined up across our line, so I knew I was getting the ball. So I was really anxious to DJ hurry up and snap the ball because they don't have as many people lined up. So I guess it's just another miscue, just the line to see the ball snap.
Is that really the timing of it? Like you're trying to snap the ball because you don't want them to realize that?
Yeah, I mean we just trying to see what formation they're gonna come out of, and if they bunch it up, then we would just run a different play. But we had what we wanted. We just missed the opportunity.
Coach said you guys had the look that you wanted in that situation.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you look at with the drops and see like a common denominator kind of there?
No, I mean, first drop I had was the go ball. Couldn't find the ball, but that's not an excuse to touch my hands. Second one, it just hit my leg. Try to catch it with my hands. Just gotta find a way to make those plays.
I'm kind of talking about more like the ones late in games. Been a couple this year. Is it maybe you're trying to do too much? Is concentration in the moment, like anything like that you could kind of put your finger on at this point?
No, just got to be better. I mean, they're trying to give me opportunities to get the ball. I got to make those plays. There's nothing wrong with just getting it later in the game or at the end of the game. Got to make the play.
This is where you want to be. Obviously, at 2-6 as a team, individually. How do you make sure that you do, your part, but also kind of rally together?
Right. Got to get in the details more. Myself, especially, had a lot of miscues when I was out there. So, got to get in the books more. Got to get alignment more. Just like I said, focus on the details. Details win football games. That was a great team, but we kind of gave them to us because we wasn't on our details. So if we want to be that explosive offense, we got to get on the details more.
That's Malik Neighbors after the game. And JC, he kind of, at the end of that soundbite, verbatim said what we said to start this postgame show. It was little details and execution on various plays, whether it's penalties or drops, turnovers, punt coverage. Go through the list. The Giants did not execute those little details in this game, and it ended up sinking their chances to win.
If you want to be a great player in this league, you got to focus, and you have to make those plays. Malik Neighbors have had opportunities this season to win the Giants football games, and he's a fantastic player. I mean, he's one of the best receivers I've seen since 13 played here, and 13 was good. I'm talking about OBJ. He was damn good. This kid is right up there. But, man, he has to make those plays.
Do you think it's a focus thing?
It has to be a focus thing. And I don't think it's a lack of focus. I just think it's just taking your eye off the prize for 1 second, thinking about what you're going to do after you catch the ball instead of catching the ball.
Not being in the moment necessarily.
Exactly. And look, I've been in part of situations where I played offense when I was younger. The easy passes were the hardest ones to catch because you're so focused on doing something after, but you have to make the play. You can't do nothing if you don't catch the ball. He's a guy that could be a potential superstar. He's in a great market in New York, and he's going to get the opportunities. He's going to get those 4th and 1 plays, those 4th and 4 plays late in football games. We've seen it already this year multiple times, and I think he can do it. I do think he's built and cut from that type of cloth. But when a team is struggling and the team needs you to make a play, you have to focus in. Don't worry about what you're going to do after the catch. Make the catch and then be special after that. But you can't do anything if you can't catch the football. And the guy that, even Isaiah Simmons talked about, he's not going to have any drops this year. They were talking about that prior to the season, during the season. And, it's like it's almost a problem for him. I believe he will get over it. But this is a kid that, man, he could have won a couple games this year. Today being one of them, and maybe not win a game, but put the Giants in a better opportunity to give themselves a chance at the end of the game. And the Giants are not going to go away from him. He's too good. He is too good, too valuable to this team. He's worth that draft pick that the Giants spent on him. But he has to come down with those plays.
And the Giants aren't a good enough team to have their best players not come up with those big plays in those big spots. They've just not able to overcome those. Whether it was, go back to previous games. You mentioned the Neighbors plays. Darius Slayton's had a drop or two. Wanda Robinson had some big drops or two. Daniel Jones turning it over at the end of this game. Just go down the list. They don't have enough yet on the roster to overcome not making the big plays that are presented to them. And frankly, the coaches and their teammates put them in position to make these plays. The NFL's hard.
Yes, it is.
You only get so many opportunities to make plays. You're playing against another group of 46 guys that are trying to win, and they're also really good. They're trying to stop you. So you're only going to have so many chances, just like you're playing basketball. You're only going to get so many open three-point shots. Yeah. Guess what? When you get them, you better make them. Yeah. When you have an opportunity to make these big plays at the end of the games, if you can't make them, it's like Scott Hansen in the witching hour, right, with the red zone. That's when wins turns into losses, and losses turns into wins. And you have to be able to make those big plays in critical situations. And the Giants have not been able to do that in too many close games this year.
Yeah, absolutely. And you look at defensively, too. The Giants, they forced one turnover today, but they haven't been able to consistently do that. That wasn't till late in the game. But, in 2022, the Giants did a great job in forcing the ball and getting the offense more opportunities.
Even last year, when they were bad, the Giants were, I think, second in the league in turnover margin.
Yep, 100%. And the Giants have to figure out a way to do that. You give your offense more opportunities to get better, to take shots at the end zone, to have those opportunities to score points. It's only advantageous for your team. And the Giants have to figure out a way, because as of right now, they're not lining up and beating people. I think you have to be able to get the ball to your offense and create more opportunities for them to score points.
Giants defense, just 6 takeaways this year, just 1 interception. And honestly, remind me if I'm forgetting any, there haven't been a ton of dropped interceptions either.
Right.
They haven't really been in position to make a lot of picks this year. Only 7 teams have fewer takeaways than the Giants. The Cowboys, the Browns, the Dolphins, the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Titans, some of the worst teams in the league. And then the one outlier there, the Eagles, who only have 4 takeaways, and they happen to have a good record because their offense is really good. So you're right, the defense has not made their share of game-changing plays. But look, we also knew with the young secondary that was going to have to be something they overcome. I am surprised with all the sacks, though. There have not been more strip sacks.
Yeah.
That's one thing maybe they can get a little bit better. I know it's a little bit different with Dexter having 9 of them. It's hard to get strip sacks when you're a 350-pound man coming right at the quarterback.
Guys.
Well, the quarterback sees him coming.
Up the quarterback.
It's kind of hard for Dexter Lawrence to blindside somebody because he's on all sides.
I don't think he's ever
blindsided
anybody in his life.
That's correct. For all your office, industrial, and residential moving needs, trust Clancy Relocation and Logistics, the official moving and relocation partner of the New York Giants. Visit clancymoving.com. Quick timeout, and we'll get JC's thoughts on what the NFC East looks like, and we'll say goodbye to our network when we return after this. The Giants fall to the Steelers, 26-18.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
This is Eli Manning. You're listening to Giants Football on the Giants Radio Network.
Giants Football is brought to you by our local Ford stores. One engine drives this team. For current offers, visit buyfordnow.com, Ford official truck of the Giants. John Schmeelk, Jonathan Casillas with you on Giants Extra Point. Giants fall to the Steelers 26-18. And in the standings now, Jonathan Casillas, things have gotten a bit dire. The Washington Commanders had a miracle victory this past weekend. This is one of those years for them where everything seems to be going right. They have an explosive rookie quarterback in Jaden Daniels who's playing extremely well. Both them and the Steelers have only 2 losses. Washington with 6 wins. The Eagles have already had their bye. They have 5. The Cowboys are languishing at 3-4. Giants now with 2-6, so they are 4 games back in the loss column from both the Eagles and the Commanders. And the Giants are 0-3 in the division. All 3 other NFC East teams are 1-0 in the division. So things are going to have to turn around in an extreme fashion for the Giants to crawl themselves back into this race.
Yeah, absolutely. And next up on the schedule is the Commanders, who sits alone at the top of the division.
And they're pretty good.
I guess, is that a half a game? Because they got 6 wins. And
the Commanders would be 4 games. 4 full games.
No, I'm
the
talking
Eagles
about
are 3.5.
Washington to Philly.
Washington has a 1.5 game lead over
Okay,
Philly. That's
1.5
correct,
game.
yes.
Yeah, and look,
See you in the media learning how to do standings. I like it.
I'm learning. Last night's game, that was a game where, they controlled the game for most of the game, and then the Bears figured out a way to score some points at the end of the game and was up with, under a minute left in the game, and a lack of concentration by a couple of guys on the Bears. And, one of the greatest plays probably in Commanders Redskins football team history was made by an incredible quarterback who threw the ball like 70 yards down the field.
Funny thing, it was actually short of the end zone, which is the funny thing.
Yeah, but it was still like there. He threw it from like the 30, 35-yard line.
Yeah.
I mean, that ball traveled.
It was about a 60-yard throw in the air. It's pretty good.
What he did, he executed on that play. And you look at the Chicago Bears, I don't know what type of front they were in. They had a spy.
A 3-man front and a spy. As though Jaden Daniels is going to run it from 60 yards away.
Why are
I
you
don't
spying
know.
him?
I have no idea.
But like, again, we look at the Giants,
I don't mind using the spy as almost a delayed rusher. So if he breaks the pocket, then he charges. But he
never
didn't
broke the line of
do
scrimmage.
that either. I don't know what he was doing.
He didn't even keep him on one side
of
the ball.
No, in fact, he let him run to the other side. Yeah, don't let him roll to his right.
Right.
Make him roll to his left. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah, but, again, they executed a play that had, like, the lowest percentage chance of happening. What else besides an onside kick? A Hail Mary from the 35-yard line. That's like, it's a place almost impossible for it to happen. But when you execute and you do what you're supposed to do, sometimes the impossible happens. But if you don't execute, you can't even run what you're supposed to run.
And I'll tell you what, if you make mistakes against Jaden Daniels next week, it's either a big run for him or a deep pass down the field to Terry McLaurin.
He has eyes on the back of his head. Like, the guy can see guys diving at his legs from behind him.
Which is amazing because in college, he actually had a very high pressure to sack rate. So when he saw pressure in college, he actually got sacked a high amount of the time, which is why some of the stuff he's doing now is just so impressive.
He's making great decisions, and I think the rib injury probably helped him in terms of protecting himself.
He slides a little bit more,
Yeah,
right?
he slides a little bit more. He's running out of bounds.
He's so accurate.
I didn't realize how much of an athlete he really was. I don't watch college football like that, but I, kind of paying attention to the draft and stuff. But man, the kid's a great athlete, such a prolific passer of the football. His deep passes on the run to Terry McLaurin, and we all know Terry McLaurin's a very quality receiver. The Giants been going against Terry his entire career. He's been on the Commanders. And he has the perfect quarterback. He has a guy that, is going to be able to extend the play. So, look, it's hard to cover great receivers for 2, 3, 4 seconds. It's impossible to do it after that. And Jaden Daniels buys time. The Giants next week, they're going to have great rush lanes. They're going to have great plaster coverage down the field against some of these explosive receivers that the Commanders have.
Please stick with us if you're listening on our local flagship here in New York, Bloomberg 1130. But right now it's time to say goodbye to our affiliates across the country on the Giants Radio Network. Our next broadcast will be next Sunday when the Giants host the Washington Commanders at MetLife Stadium. Our pregame show across our network will begin at noon. Thanks for being with us tonight. The Giants again fall to the Pittsburgh Steelers 26-18, and they drop their record to 2-6. We'll see you next week on the WFAN Giants Radio Network. But we are not done right here on Bloomberg 1130, right here in New York City. Jonathan Casillas and I unfortunately cannot take your calls today because we're on Bloomberg, not on FAN, so we don't have access to those phone lines, but we will get the rest of the sound from the locker room. We have Dexter Lawrence, we have Darius Slayton, we have Brian Burns and Azeez Ojulari, and we'll have more analysis for you as we wrap up the Giants' Monday night defeat. And what has just been a couple of brutal days in New York sports. My goodness. Unless you're a Ranger fan, this has not gone well the last couple of days. That and more when we return right after this.
Hawk gets this punt off. Austin fields it, retreating in his own 26. Veers to the far sideline. Turns the corner. He's up to midfield. He's to the Giant 40. still running to the 10, to the 5, touchdown! 74 yards, Calvin Austin.
That was the Giants' turning point of the game. Listen to Boomer and Gio on our flagship station, WFAN, tomorrow morning in the 9 a.m. hour for the Giants' Turning Point contest. The first correct caller to name the game's turning point will win 2 tickets to an upcoming Giants home game. And even though that touchdown just made it 16-9, it really did start turning things the Steelers' way in half number 2. That 73-yard punt return with 4:38 to go in the third quarter gave the Steelers a 16-9 lead. They would not relinquish that lead. In fact, I don't believe they ever trailed by fewer than a touchdown after that. They did not. So that's why we made that our turning point of the game. So you can call into Boomer and Gio tomorrow morning, give that turning point, and you can get your 2 tickets to an upcoming Giants game. Make sure you go and do that. JC, again, the Giants fall to the Steelers 26-18. The Steelers have now won 22 consecutive home games on Monday Night Football. Pretty impressive. We have a lot more audio coming your way from the locker room. Let's go with one of the Giants' defensive players that had a pair of sacks in this game. That is Azeez Ojulari. Our very own Paul Dottino had a chance to talk to him after this game.
Azeez, this was such a wild game because so many things went right for you guys on different sides of the ball, but then so many things didn't go right, and ultimately it ended up to a loss. How difficult is that to deal with?
Man, it's tough. It was a tough game, grimy game. Went all the way to 0 to the end of the game, but it was a tough loss. We got to eat. It's tough to eat this one. It's tough all around.
It does seem like this locker room is reacting even more upset and more frustrated and more disgusted than even the other losses I saw this year.
Yeah, this one hurt a lot. It was a grimy game, but we had an opportunity, we had a chance, but we didn't come through. And so it hurts bad, you know. It's a tough loss.
Could you describe where the resiliency came from in the fourth quarter? Because every time they seemed to try to pull away, you guys came back, you made plays, you got some points on the board, and you kept the game within reach until the final drive.
Yeah, I commend the leaders on this team, on this group, and defense, offense, all the leaders on this team. I give all the praise to them, keeping everyone upright, just ready to go. One play mentality, next play mentality, one play at a time, and we just kept going. Kept trying to hunt and make a play.
All right, let's talk about the one really good thing, but the one not so good thing about the defense overall. The pass rush, you had 2 sacks again, continued to get some heat on Russell Wilson. On the other side, they probably ran the ball better than you would have liked, especially in the first half.
Yeah, we got to just continue to go back and look what we can improve on and as a unit together, and just keep honing in on those little things and details and try to come back with another opportunity next week and try to put our best foot forward and dominate, man. Just keep improving, just trying to keep improving in this league, you know. You never know. So just got to keep improving.
Azeez, appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Well, 2 sacks for Azeez Ojulari. Let's go to his fellow edge rusher, Brian Burns. We had him after the game as well.
I'm going to let Deontay speak on Deontay's mistakes. Like, I ain't got nothing in his head. I don't know what he's thinking. My job is to encourage him and keep him up.
How do you do that for a player, I guess, who's
He's
been
a young
called
player,
out?
man. Young players make mistakes. As a leader, just got to talk to him, tell him about my experiences, what I've been through, and kind of guide him from there. But right now, he's in the tough patch. Whatever he got going on, he'll figure it out. He's a man.
What's the key when you're in that spot? Like you said, you're going to give him your experiences. What's the key to getting out of that if you're
just keeping your head up, building your confidence. I believe you build confidence through preparation. So if he needs to prepare better, maybe that's it. Maybe it's not. I don't know. But we're going to find something because he is an awesome player and he is somebody that we need. So at the end of the day, I'm going to be there to lead him. I'm going to be there for him to lean on me. And it's simple.
Does he seem, I know it's very early after this game, but does he seem receptive to that?
I had to talk to him, yeah.
Okay.
How about Malik? You and Malik seemed like you spoke for a little bit. Did you talk to him at all about that?
Same thing. These are young players. You know, they're going through their ups and downs of the league. Just can't let them hang their heads and get discouraged. It's the main things.
Dex was saying that he feels like you guys as leaders need to see more passion overall from the team. What do you agree with that? Or what do you?
You know, what Deck sees. I can't speak on his comments.
Like, what do you see in that regard?
I see detail. Team needs to grow up, as I see it. GVR had a strong message. I'll keep that in-house, but more of the story is the details need to get better.
When you say the team needs to grow up, like you
Details.
mentioned details. Like how
Details,
so?
preparation.
Yeah.
That's all I mean. It's about like to me it doesn't come down to effort. I feel guys play hard. I feel guys fight. Like that was a tough fought game. I don't feel like anybody's not confident. I don't feel like anybody's will wavered from what I've seen. My thing just comes down to details and being super detailed in your job. You know, like it's a lot of small things that I see. So
We're 8 weeks in. Why do you think that's lacking?
Frustration. There's many things. Emotion of the game. Just how the game go. There's many things that can make it lack. I can't speak for everybody, so I don't necessarily know. But just off my experience and the teams I've been on, frustration, things not going your way, momentum switches can cause people to lack on their detail or do something out of body trying to make a play. So we don't really need that. We need everybody to do that 111, and the cards fall how they fall.
What's that like for you, though? Because you're not a young player, and you're kind of having to, live with these young guys'
Damn, you call me old?
mistakes. Huh?
Call me old, bro. I'm 26, man.
But I'm saying you have experience, though. You're not a guy in their first year, so you're having to, live kind of, I guess, with their young guy mistakes.
Yeah, I think we're the youngest defense, but I don't know, man. I was a young guy at one point, and I had guys like Shaq and Luke to pick me up whenever I wasn't doing my job at a high level. So I just got to kind of be those. I had to be that guy to those guys, So
You mentioned the detail stuff. Isn't it on the coaches to get guys polished up on their details?
the coaches can say so much. Period. It's the players. It's the leaders of the defense. Me, Dex, Bobby, Penn. Like it's those guys. That's Nachos. Those guys that's gonna really bring the young guys along and get that message clear to them.
That's Brian Burns, and we'll hear from Dexter Lawrence. That was kind of referenced during that Q&A in a little bit. You were nodding along to that, JC. Tell me what's going through your head as you heard Brian Burns talk there. And by the way, just for a statistic for everybody out there, the Giants per snap this year have the youngest team in the National Football League. So they are literally the youngest team in the league, and Malik Neighbors is the third youngest player in the National Football League right now. Only Braylon Allen and Audric Estime are younger than him. So just a couple numbers before you give your take on what he said.
Well, first of all, compliments to Brian Burns. He kind of, summarized like what you see from a young team, what you see from a young defense. And, I had conversations about rookies, even what happened last week with the Malik Neighbors staying in bounds, the Theo Johnson penalty on the touchdown play. What do we know from rookies that you always see? That's a constant around the league, in any league, that rookies make mistakes. Young players make mistakes, right? Older players
even
are guys,
good ones, by the way.
Even great ones,
Correct.
They always make mistakes, and not that nobody else makes mistakes, that nobody's perfect in the NFL, but these are young guys who haven't been in these type of situations before. Being down, a lot of these guys, play with leads most of the time in their entire life, all the way from Pee-wee to, high school to college. They're put in some really tough situations where one lack of concentration that equals something going the other way. Being short of the sticks on, trying to convert a third down or a fourth down. Thinking about what you're going to do after the catch instead of catching the ball.
Not coming to set on a motion shift.
Right. And you see it happening over and over and over again. And like he said, he's a man, and he was referring to Banks. They're young men, but they are men. And what I know about men, especially in the NFL, they take pride in what they do and they correct what they do. But they are young players in the NFL, right? I'll give you a little quick story. Hopefully I got time to tell it.
Go ahead, you got it.
So when I was a young player in the league, I struggled in zone coverage, right? It was kind of not a new concept to me, but it was never really explained to me until I got to the NFL, until I got baptized by Drew Christopher Breeze. He used to look right at me in cover two, and he knew exactly the things that we supposed to do on defense. and he would stare at me and give me a little shake of his shoulders or a little head nod, and I would move, and he would throw it right where I was at.
You would have that seam or the seam area, right? Or the little
what
hook
they call
flat.
it, the cheese, the cheese right in front of me. He'll give me a little pump there, and I'm biting on the cheese, and like Greg Williams used to curse me out all the time, and he's like, JC, you dummy, he's looking right at you every time in cover 2. But I eventually learned how to play cover 2, not just from my defensive guys, but because I was getting exposed by a Hall of Fame quarterback on a consistent basis. So, things happen at practice, things happen at games, but what you guys see, because, the fans, you're seeing everything on TV, you're seeing the mistakes in live action, and these guys, these young players, they have to figure out a way to correct the mistakes that happen, because athleticism, being strong, being explosive, they only go so far in the NFL. You have to be very detailed in what you have to do. More importantly, you have to understand how someone is going to attack you because of the things that you're good or bad at, right? Luke Kuechly, one of the best linebackers in the league, but there's a way that you can attack Luke Kuechly. There's a way that you can attack Fred Warner. There's a way that you can attack Micah Parsons. These are tremendous players, but there's a ways that you can attack them. Now, rookie, there are things that you can throw at him. The more you do, the more that you have him thinking. And that gets a rookie, no matter how talented it is, to think. And once a player's thinking, it's over, especially on defense, because you're just reading and reacting on defense, and I see Banks kind of thinking out there a little bit. I think you're seeing him playing a little bit slower because he's thinking a little bit more instead of playing fast and free, like I feel like we have seen him play throughout his career. Young career.
Brian Burns did mention that Greg Van Roten, he said GVR. We're assuming that's who he means by that. I don't know, but else it could be GVR. Did speak to the team after the game. He said they'll keep that in-house. It was poignant. I mean, he's one of the older players in the team. I believe he's 32 years old, if I'm not mistaken. I know he's a late addition, but I'm sure he's at the point now where he feels like that he can speak to the team as a veteran to try to get them. And look, Brian Burns said it. This is up to him. It's up to Dexter Lawrence. And, you also nod your head when one of the reporters, I believe it was Slater, asked, whether or not it's the coach's responsibility to make sure these details are being followed out correctly. And you kind of shook your head no in that situation, right? Why?
Yeah, because there's only so much a coach can do. They look, the coaches watch so much film, so much tape. They go over so many different cues and tips and points, and you got your playbook, but then they give you sheets every single week of things that you got to pay attention to, statistical things. They give you things about the referee, things that they call, like so many things that they give you. It's a lot to go through. It's a lot to digest, but they can't throw a ball. They can't catch a pass. They can't tackle a back. They can't force a fumble.
To use the cliche, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make him drink.
You have to go out there and play football. That means you have to execute. That means you have to focus. Sometimes it's for longer than 4 quarters, and the Giants right now, they're just failing to execute, whether it's offensively, whether it's defensively, whether it's special teams. The Giants are consistently failing to execute. That's why you're looking up. The Giants are the last in the NFC East. They're 2-6. And look, Daniel Jones, people give him crap for, some things, but there's receivers that are dropping passes on this football team, and it's not just one game. It's happening in every single game. And they have to figure out a way to give him some help. Daniel Jones, he played pretty well today, but again, opportunities for the Giants to make plays late in this game. A drop here, taking a moment, a lapse of focus, taking your eyes off the ball for 1 second, and it's costing the Giants not just plays and points, it's costing the Giants games, and now you look up, the Giants are sitting at the bottom of the league, not just the division, the bottom of the league, and the Commanders coming in, they're rolling right now. The Giants have to figure out a way to dig themselves. They've digged themselves into a very deep hole, and it's about the midpoint of the season right now.
Giants TV, presented by Bob's Discount Furniture, is the official connected TV app of the New York Giants, available for free Now on Apple TV, Roku, Amazon Fire TV, and inside the Giants mobile app. Stream game highlights, interviews, TV shows, and more exclusive video content with Giants TV. Quick timeout. When we return, we'll hear from one of those vets, Dexter Lawrence, and what he had to say after this Giants 26-18 loss to the Steelers on Monday Night Football.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
Wilson on a 2nd and 8, climbs the pocket, under pressure, gets sacked hard back at the 16-yard line as the Giants came flying in. And it's a loss of 5. Azeez Ojulari picks up the sack, takes the snap, back to throw, under pressure, and he's going to get grabbed and he's going to get sacked back at the 43-yard line. Dexter Lawrence got the first hands on him, and then the Giants came up and cleaned it up at the 2-minute warning. A loss of 10 on the play. Lawrence didn't get the sack, Burns did.
4 more sacks for the Giants. That gives them 35 on the season, which still does lead the NFL by a wide margin, by the way. The Broncos are in second place with 30. So the Giants have 5 more sacks than the team in second place. Hard to believe that they're 2-6, leading the league with 35 sacks through 8 games. That's almost 4.5 sacks per game, which you would think would lead to more victories. But again, the Giants have not been able to close out a lot of these close games. We heard Dexter Lawrence helping Brian Burns get a sack during that highlight package. He spoke to the media after the game. My understanding is that he was pretty emotional and pretty fired up. One of the leaders not very happy with the team, unable to come up with some of these wins. So let's listen to Dexter and see what one of the Giants leaders had to say after this ball game. Remember, he is a captain, so his words carry a lot of weight.
Dex, when you were yelling to your teammates on the sideline after the Pickens touchdown that didn't count, what were you saying to them?
I'm a passionate guy, and I just said we gotta play harder. We gotta stop that play. That play shouldn't have happened. It shouldn't have came down to a decision, and I just said we gotta play harder.
How high was your level of frustration?
Extremely high. We let a touchdown happen. You want to prevent those in the red area. That's what we pride ourselves when we get down there, to play harder and keep them out the end zone.
And how was that received by those guys?
I think we started to play better towards the end of the second, and in the second half we played better. So it probably was received well.
Is that the angriest you've ever been at your own guys?
Yeah. Probably not. Probably first time y'all seen it. But I'm a passionate dude, and I put a lot into this game, and I expect a lot to come back, and my teammates to also give a lot to the game.
Where did things go from here with Deontay? Because obviously you kind of had the message last week. I guess it didn't get through with the bench. So just where you go from here as a leader.
Keep encouraging him. I got his back, and just talk to him, see if he needs my help or anything. Just whatever, just be the guy for him.
Were you surprised to see that?
I guess so. I didn't think that would happen. So I guess so.
By that, you mean what? Did you have issues with Deontay's effort on the low tackle attempt on which he was hurdled? Is that what you mean by
No, that's a highlight play. I don't know.
Sure, yeah.
That ain't shit.
Sure. No, I'm just clarifying.
And why are you talking about a hurdle, whatever?
That's because I was just trying to clarify. What
He's trying to make a play.
No.
He's a big dude. He's not just a big dude. He's a smaller dude. He's trying to make a tackle.
No, exactly. No, I didn't think. But I'm
wondering.
Tay
had said that was one of the plays he was talked to about. That's why he's asking.
Sorry.
I mean, he shouldn't have been taught. That's just football. That happens.
I was just trying to clarify what you meant by people asking if you were surprised that that happened.
Oh no.
So what did you think? What do you think of Tay's effort in this game?
I mean, I think he could have competed better on that not touchdown pass. And that's really the only play I saw with my own eyes, so that's what I can say.
That's what I meant. Thanks.
Dexter,
Is it fair to say if you didn't think this team had the kind of potential that you thought it had, that maybe you wouldn't be as angry as you are?
I think I'm a little frustrated because we're a good team and we keep beating ourselves every week, and we can't have that. And I addressed it, and we just got to be mentally locked in on every play, not just plays here and there. It got to be a sharp focus on every play. That's where my frustration comes.
Do you see that during the week and not on game day? Is it an issue during the week?
It's not an issue during the week. We practice hard, we practice well, we have a lot of camaraderie in the locker room. We care about each other. It's just, when on the game day we got to show up.
Is that something you addressed after the game today in the locker room to your teammates?
Actually, the GBR, he addressed the team after the game and kind of said we got to keep honing on the small things, and it's frustrating because we're a good team, and that's the only thing that's beating us.
Dex, you talked about some of the defensive plays you didn't like, but there was a punt return in this game.
Mm-hmm.
Your defense held them to less than 20 points.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes that is enough to win games. You know what I mean? Do you think the pressure to be so good sometimes? Sometimes the defense can win a game if it gives up 18 or 19 points. Is there no margin for you guys to make any error here?
I wouldn't say that. We got to play a complementary game.
Mm-hmm.
If that happens, then offense get another chance to get on the field quicker, and we got to take advantage of that. And I think it's just tough to say that one side of the ball has to hold the game down. You can't think like that. We're a team.
So you guys are, since the start of last year, 8-17 at this point, coming off like a really great year of success, and probably felt like you were building a winning culture. Do you find yourself asking what the hell happened? Like what happened to that?
Not necessarily. Like I said, I think this team is better than that team that we were winning with, and it's on us. It's on every individual to be focused and not get a flag here, or get a deflection here, or just the little things. Just everybody got to give a little more.
Dex, do you think it should be on you to be motivating guys to play harder on the sideline? Like, shouldn't that be coming from somebody else?
I'm a leader, and I take pride in that, and I believe in servant leadership, and that's what I'm gonna do till I can't no more. I think a lot of other guys motivate on the sideline as well, but that's just how we roll.
Next, we saw Daniel express his frustration after that 2-point play. So we saw you do it on the sideline. Are you guys getting to the point where you think you're being heard as the leaders of this team?
I think so, and I think we have to show more passion, and that's part of showing more passion is
as a team. You mean?
As a team, or as leaders, or whoever, to show more passion, and that's some things that you got to do to to grow.
How rare is it for you to see that from Daniel? Like, I know I've seen you break the team down. He's usually pretty, generally pretty mild.
It is showing how much he cares, and he knows, the potential of his team, and whatever he was frustrated about, he probably had a good reason.
All right, there's Dexter Lawrence, and again, reiterating the stuff that we talked about, JC, in terms of making those types of mistakes and having the little things turn to big things, being focused on every play. And then, much like Brian Burns, he talked about Greg Van Roten, and they both used that word passion a lot as well.
Yeah, that's probably something that Greg Van Roten talked about, and it probably was delivered passionately, to the group, and, speeches like that, man, it could change. It could change a team. It could, get the guys fired up and, have a great week of practice, I've been part of some not so great seasons, and I've also been part of some very, very special seasons. One being the 2016 New York Giants, been Super Bowl champion, Super Bowl 44 with the New Orleans Saints, and Super Bowl 49 with the New England Patriots. And those seasons weren't perfect. There's been rough spots in those seasons. It was a rough spot in the 11-5 New York Giants football season in 2016. You know, I don't want to even look at the playoffs or even talk about the playoffs. The Giants have to figure out a way to win games in a division. That's something that we've been talking about since 2022.
How about
since I've been a part of this broadcast. Even though the Giants did well in 2022, they still was 2-4, I think, in the division.
They might have gotten the 3-3 at the end. I'll check that right now.
Because they got swept by the Cowboys and the Eagles that year. And I believe they beat the Commanders twice. But still, that's something that I've always said every single year I've been a part of this broadcast. I said that the Giants have to do well in the division.
1-4-1. There was a
The
tie. I forgot about the tie. You're right.
Right, the tie. And I always said that the Giants have to do well in the division. Now, look, there's some divisional games left now. The Giants still have all three teams left in the division to play one more time, right? So the Giants have a huge game this week against the Commanders. The Commanders are sitting alone at the top of the division.
Yeah. Last year, the Giants were 3-3, by the way.
Right.
Yes.
Still, though, that's still, a 500 record in the division. The Giants have to figure out a way because, if you win a division, you're an automatic playoff team. If you're looking like the NFC North, they're probably going to put in three teams in the playoffs this year, possibly.
They might put in 4 the way they're playing, but yes,
so
at least 3.
You have to do well in the division. And in order for the Giants to get back on track, because they've dug themselves a deep hole, it's midseason and they're 4 games minus 500. The way to do that is first by knocking off a team in your division. Why not go ahead? Commanders coming into the building. The Giants have not been good at home. They are 0-4 at home. Way to start to turn around a season is to beat a division rival at home where you haven't been good, where you haven't scored too many touchdowns, and this team is coming in on a high note off of one of the most miraculous games we've seen all year. Go in and punch them in the mouth right away, beat them up physically, dominate the game, and get a win at home. Now, look, I'm not talking the playoffs. I'm just talking about one game at a time. This is a quality league with quality teams. Every single week it's hard to win games in the NFL. I've heard that the entire time I played in the league, and the Giants are experiencing that right now. The Commanders are going to come in with their hair on fire. They're going to probably maybe overlook the Giants. Whatever the case is, it's a division rivalry. No matter if the Giants have a winning record over Commanders or not, there's always a tough game no matter win or loss or draw. It's always a tough game with the Commanders. Why not go home, come home, and defend your home turf and man up and win at MetLife. It's been a long time, Schmeelk, since we've seen a dub at MetLife.
And by the way, the Giants again played better on the road than they have. They lost the game, but they were certainly better in this game than they were in the last 2 games against the Bengals and the Eagles.
Absolutely.
Playing better on the road again. You got to bring that home. And I just want to echo Dexter's frustration. Obviously, much worse for the players. They're playing in these games in their locker, and they wear these losses for their career, right? Every loss, that's something that goes on, the tally for every player. You only have so many games. You want to win as many as you can. But something Dexter Lawrence jumped out to me where he said, look, I think this is a better team than our team in 2022 that went to the postseason and won a postseason game. And I think he's right. I think this team's more talented. I think you have better players. The difference is that team figured out how to win close games at the end, and this team has not figured out a way to win close games at the end.
Yep.
2 years ago, they would have ran that 2-point conversion play perfectly. They would have completed the pass to Neighbors, and he would have ran it in for the touchdown. Everyone would be talking about what a genius play call it is because they caught the Steelers in a good formation where they're outnumbered on the outside. He would have scored an easy walk-in touchdown. But that's not how this year has gone. And I understand why Dex is frustrated. He's been here through a lot of losing.
Yeah.
Dexter's had one good year here in terms of wins and losses. 2022. That's it. It's the only decent season he's had. And I think, much like all of us, watching this team over the summer, thought this team had more talent and they were going to be better. And I think in a lot of ways they are better. But they're not better in the way that matters.
Yeah.
Really the only way that matters, and that's in the win and the loss column. And I think that's why he's so frustrated. That's why I think when I go on Big Blue Kickoff, that's our daily show on Giants.com every day at 12:30 during the week, and I come on these post-game shows after these losses, I'm more frustrated. Last year they were so outmanned and outgunned. You're playing third-string quarterbacks.
Too.
You have no offensive line. You didn't have a chance in a lot of those games. Walking in, you knew you didn't have a chance. This year, you head into these games, you think you have a chance, and now again, there's 2 games where they got dismantled a bit against the Vikings and against the Eagles. But all the other games, they've been in. And it's been a one-score game in the fourth quarter of these games. And they've had every opportunity to win them. And they're not making the plays necessary. And it's offense, and it's defense, and it's special teams, depending on the game you're talking about, to get the job done. And I get where Dexter's coming from. There's been a lot of losing around here, and this team had a chance to be better, and they're just not taking advantage of their opportunities, which is disappointing.
Yeah, very disappointing. And you feel it. You feel it in the stadium, at MetLife. You can feel the hope that the Giants fans have,
And that's why they haven't booed right away in these home games, because they feel like this team is better. It's not last year when, 1-3 and out to start the game and the Boo Birds are coming out. It hasn't been that way this year.
Yeah, and it's still a long way to go. It's still a long season.
Yes, and the players and the coaches are not treating the season as though it's over, because it's not.
Left.
There's 9 games. There's more than half a season to go here, folks. There's a lot of football left to play.
Yeah.
A lot of games you can win.
Absolutely. The Giants have an opportunity, and for me, being an undrafted free agent, all I ever wanted was an opportunity to play in the league, and when you get that one opportunity to get on a franchise, to get on a squad, and you don't, I get activated, and, it's such a blessing to play on this league, but you never know when it's going to be your last play. You never know when, you're not going to be able to play anymore. And, you hear it in these guys' voices because it's a special thing to be part of this sacred franchise of the NFL. Not a lot of guys get the opportunity to do it, but each and every day you go out there is an opportunity, and for me, I loved playing at home. I loved playing in front of my crowd, my fans. I'm a Jersey boy through and through. I just hope that the Giants can figure out how to play and win at MetLife. Because, man, it's been a long time, Schmeelk, since we left that stadium with smiles on our faces because the Giants figured out a way to win. And we don't care how many points they win by. It doesn't matter. It only takes for you to win by 1 point, and that's okay with me. But the Giants have to figure out a way when it gets to that fourth quarter, when it gets down and that clock starts ticking down, how to stay focused and how to execute offensively, defensively, and special teams to get out with a win. And, man, it'll feel so much better than it does right now.
All right, quick timeout. We'll come back. We're from Darius Slayton and wrap things up here on Giants Extra Point. Giants fall to the Steelers 26-18.
You're listening to Giants Extra Point on the Giants Radio Network.
This is O.C. Manure, and you listen to Giants football on the Giants Radio Network.
All right, back here for our final segment on Bloomberg 1130. Again, we thank the folks over at Bloomberg for allowing us to air the game on their station tonight. The FAN carried the Yankees World Series game tonight, a disappointing loss for the Yankees. They have 7 total runs in 3 games of that series. So they trail the Dodgers 3-0. They have 2 more home games. They'll try to survive to head back to L.A., but they have to score some runs, which they have not been able to do so far. This series, let's go to Darius Slayton. He was in the locker room after the game. Let's listen in to the Giants vet on offense.
Darius, I can't even imagine the emotions that is going through you guys right now because of the back and forth of the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
You kept staying in it, and then the final drive just didn't have enough.
Yeah. Obviously a very frustrating way to lose. Good football team over there, but obviously, we felt like if we would have made a couple more plays, it would have been a different outcome.
One thing people kept saying about this offense, you got to get explosive plays, you got to get some big plays. You had some of those tonight. Where did they come from? Where did they manifest themselves? Because, again, it had been a while since you guys been able to make those.
Yeah, just getting the ball up, getting shots up. You got to take shots to hit shots, and we did a little bit better job that tonight, but even at that, we probably left, I would say, probably 2 out there at least, so we could have still hit.
Yeah, the drop passes and the penalties are going to be, I think, the 2 things when you guys watch the film are really going to gnaw at you.
Yeah, penalties killed us in the first half. I think we had a drive. In one drive, I think we got 4 or 5 flags, which just can't happen. You can't get positive yards and then take yourself right back, so obviously that's on us and the details and trying to prevent those things.
The one thing that I thought was pretty surprising after the punt return for a touchdown, which by many stretches people thought, okay, they're breaking it open.
Yeah.
But how did you guys respond to that?
I think just we came in with the right mindset. We knew there was going to be a tough atmosphere. We knew there was going to be a tough win, so we were able to stay in it. And obviously we went down and scored, got it back to 1-possession game. Then our defense got the turnover. and we were right there in position to tie the ball game up at the end. So I think just having the right mindset, preparing the right way, but obviously on game day you got to make the plays to get it done.
Darius, thanks for your time.
Sure, of course.
Darius, just one question. 2-6 right now. How do you get this team back together, especially the younger kids on this team too? Again, it looks like the locker room. It's just a lot of people feel very down right now. What do you say to the younger kids?
NFL's a long year. We went to playoffs at 9-7, so it's not like the season's over. We've got a lot of football left to play, and we're close. We're right there. Tonight we were a couple plays away from putting ourselves in a much better position to win this game, and I think if we execute like we did tonight and eliminate the penalties and some of the silly things we did, obviously we'll be a tough offense to stop.
And to Daniel Jones, he played a really good game today.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, the last play people are going to look at and criticize.
For sure.
But for the most part, he had a great game. What do you test that to? Being able to play, Pittsburgh has a really good defense. They've been playing really well. So what did he do today that really uplifted the offense?
I think he operated well. I think he made good decisions, fast decisions. Obviously, people are gonna try to make more the last play than what it really was. Yeah, you know how it is. But at the end of the day, he played well enough for us to win this football game. And if there's some other plays made before that happens and we don't get some of the penalties before that happens, we're probably not even in that predicament.
And did you take more victories from today?
I don't. I hate to lose, so losing is losing in my book. But, I definitely, you'd still have the awareness that we played, other than the penalties and things like that, we played a solid night of football on offense.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
You guys did a lot of good things tonight. So how do you just characterize this game? You got the ball in your hands with, 2 minutes to go with a chance to tie it. And
just details. We had a couple times where, we got to be on our spots. We got to be lined up better. We got to do a better job of holding our water on snap counts. And, I think that's what ultimately killed us.
All right. One thing that Darius Lane said there really struck me, Jonathan Casillas. Everyone is going to focus at the end of the game, the strip sack, the interception. But possessions and points are just as valuable and important in the first half as they are in the second half. They all count on the scoreboard the same way. On the Giants' first drive, they go 8 plays, 59 yards. They get the ball to 3rd and 7 on Pittsburgh's 13-yard line. They have a delay of game penalty. It makes it 3rd and 12 at the 18. As a defensive player, JC, how hard is it for an offense to convert a 3rd and 12 at the 18-yard line?
Yeah, it's pretty tough.
Pretty tough. Next drive. Giants commit an offensive holding penalty, an ineligible man downfield penalty, a false start penalty, and an illegal shift penalty on the same drive, I believe. And then they had a legal formation penalty that eventually got declined on that drive. They turn a 2nd and 3 at Pittsburgh's 16-yard line. That was a touchdown pass into a 2nd and 8 and the 21. That turns into a field goal. The next drive, they go 3 and out and punt. And then their third scoring drive in that first half, they drive the ball down, and they aren't able to convert a 3rd and 5, and they end up having to kick a field goal. So if you don't have those penalties on those first 2 drives, and 1 or 2 of those are touchdowns, to Darius Slayton's point, you're not in that predicament at the end of the game where you're down 8 and you're trying to score and travel the length of the field in under 2 minutes with no timeouts. The whole game changes. So those little mistakes in the first half hurt you just as much as those big mistakes at the end of the game.
Yeah, absolutely. But I want to go the other way with this argument.
Go.
You look at Eli Manning, and he had 26 career game-winning drives. And
do you have that memorized?
No, I just looked it up.
Okay, good job. I was going to say that's impressive.
But, he has a 500 record in his career. But he's known for the things that he did late in games. Big stages.
That's fair, too.
Primetime games, and Daniel Jones has struggled in these moments, and another opportunity for him to, win some fans over, to, get some people on his side, and the opportunity that was presented to him, that play where he sailed the ball over Singletary's head, the two best pass rushers that's been pestering him all game was on the sideline. And he was not set to throw that pass. His feet were and I feel like the whole game he was throwing great passes with his feet set.
And he wasn't
with pressure.
And he wasn't pressured on the last play,
With
which
pressure.
is the killer. Correct.
So, for me, it sucks because I'm passionate about this sport. I'm passionate about this team, and situations like that, failed execution, but it really comes down to, at the end of the game, who can make those plays to win the game, and look, the Giants have a lot more opportunities to do that this season, but they have to figure out a way to make those plays. Sometimes they're gimme plays, and sometimes they have to do a little bit more than the other team. Sometimes you have to be spectacular. But tonight, it was a routine play where I think a routine pass, even that drive, he made tough passes. That wasn't a tough pass to make. And I want Daniel Jones to make those plays, not just for me, but for him, for the New York Giants faithful. It's been rough, especially this week, like you said. Yankees dropping 3 straight in the World Series. Jets are not looking good.
Mets got knocked out of the NLCS last week. Knicks lost tonight, too. It's has not been a good New York sports weekend.
The Giants, the New York area, this whole tri-state area, because first of all, there's fans of these historical teams now. All of these teams have great histories, great championship caliber, squads with great owners, and they're due for some plays. They're due for some wins. They're due for some fourth quarter comeback drives. Let's see what the Giants can do this week against a very, very talented Commanders team with a very talented quarterback. I sure hope that the Giants can figure it out, man, because we're all due for some good football to be played over here.
JC, we'll see you next week when the Giants host the Commanders pregame on the Fan in here in New York at 11 a.m.
All right, brother.
All right, stay tuned to our coverage of the Giants all week long on Giants.com and the Giants mobile app. Big Blue Kickoff Live comes your way every day live at 12:30. We take your calls and talk Giants football with you. And, of course, make sure you go check out the Giants Podcast Network as well, the Giants Huddle Podcast. Just search for that on your favorite podcast platform. Go to the Giants app or just go to Giants.com/podcast. Thank you so much for being with us tonight. Giants Extra Point was brought to you by Citizens, the official bank of the New York Giants. Citizens is made ready for Giant fans. Hackensack Meridian Health, keep getting better. Peerless Boilers, the world's best built boilers. And by Moody's, decode risk, unlock opportunity. Learn more at moodys.com. For Jonathan Casillas, Bob Papa, Carl Banks, Howard Cross, our entire crew, Connor doing a great job back in the studio, Hoffman, Stopsky, Ward on the road, Bob Carl handling the connections back in the shop, our resident engineer. Great job by everyone for getting this thing on the air and getting it done tonight again. Thank you to Bloomberg 1130 for giving us time on their air with the World Series going on WFAN. For everyone, I am John Schmeelk. We'll see you next week, 11 a.m. on the Fan. Giants and Commanders on Sunday. Until then, have a great week, everybody.
I'm Peter Schrager, host of Good Morning Football on the NFL Network and the Season with Peter Schrager podcast. Whether you're ordering wings for the game or you're whipping up a 7-layer dip or you're ordering a pizza, there's something about football that makes you want to eat. And this football season, Uber Eats has the best deals on game day food, no matter what you're craving. From 2-for-1 pizzas to buy one, get one wings to whatever it is you want, Uber Eats will be dropping new deals each week all season long. Uber Eats is the official on-demand delivery partner of the NFL. Order now for game day. Terms and conditions apply, and see the app for details.
You go into your shower feeling, but as soon as you reach for the Irish Spring, your day immediately gets better. That crisp, fresh, unmistakable Irish Spring scent zings your brain and awakens your senses. So when you finally emerge from the shower, 37 minutes later, because you pay the water bill so you can stay in there as long as you want, you're ready to take on the day and smell great doing it. Irish Spring Body Wash and Bar Soap. Fresh, green, Irish. Shop now at Walmart.